Hi, so today we're going to have a look at the weather system and the various considerations that we take into account and how to override them and stuff. So, the weather system is pretty comprehensive. You can set it in a variety of different ways. We pull in a lot of data from a lot of different places to make the best forecast that we can and the best nowcast and the best danger prediction. But unless I don't know if you've noticed, but forecasting is not an exact science. Well, it's usually pretty good, uh, but sometimes it doesn't predict things depending on where you are in the world. So in New Mexico, uh, sometimes in California too, you can get big storms just erupt out of nowhere without much notice. So the forecast can be quite unreliable. So you need to take into account all these different considerations and have lots of different layers of safety. But with lots of different layers of safety, sometimes it can be a bit more pessimistic than you are. So the system is designed so that the telescope is fully robotic, so that if you don't touch it, you don't even think about it, which is what I do a lot now that there's so many telescopes around. Just go to bed and not worry about it. It should open and close by itself and make reasonable, slightly conservative decisions on your behalf. But it's the case that sometimes there's a clear patch. You can have clouds, 50 kilometers to the south of you, clouds 50 kilometers to the north of you, and a clear patch in between where your observatory is, which isn't captured quite as well by the forecast or any of the other devices. But your observatory is clear, and you can see that with your eyeballs or your all sky camera or your sky temperature meter on your local IR cloud meter thing. So if you do want to override it, there's some overrides as well that you can do. Because yes, sometimes that happens. The sky is clear, but the forecast is a bit pessimistic. So let's go through and have a look what's in the weather system, how you set it to what you want, and how to override it. So I've just started off on this weather page here, and this is the weather page for where I am. And interestingly, we are seem to be in that sort of a patch. I'm looking out my window here. This telescope's about 10 kilometers away from me, and I'm seeing blue sky if I look directly up, and then in the distance I see kind of thick cloud. I don't know what's out behind me because there's no window behind me, as you can see. And I assume it's actually probably the same in that direction as well. So if there was no human around, uh, according to this forecast, it would not open. And that's probably what it should do. If there's big batches of clouds over there and big batches of clouds over there and just clear here, should remain shut. And so that's what it's saying here. It said that it has detected ground radar rain uh, 19 minutes ago. And so that radar is pretty reliable, but we do it in about 50k radius of the observatory. So if it's raining 20 k's one way or the other, it will shut your observatory because the best predictor of rain is rain nearby, right? So if there's no humans around, it'll shut itself up, but you can override that. It's also saying the weather forecast is negative. So this weather report here for the next night, this is basically the next night. If it's during the night, it'll start off at where it is. But it's saying yes, most of the time there is lots of cloud, and so why bother? Why bother opening? Once you get to about 30% cloud, your telescope's got a pretty high likelihood of wherever it's pointing is going to be a cloud, and so it's really not much point opening up. There is a 5% down here, so it's predicting it clears up for a second or so and then shuts back up. We see the transparency estimates pretty low. You really want that to be 0.8 or higher, even though the seeing, if you could see through the clouds, would be pretty good. There's some dew risk. It's winter here, but it's not cold enough here at the moment for frost. What else do we have? Yeah, temperature minus dew. That just gets calculated into the dew risk, but it gives you an idea how close it's getting. Normal cloud is low to medium cloud, that type of cloud that can be captured by a sky IR meteor like the AAG or Sky Alerts or Boltwoods and things like that. There's also high cloud, which is not captured by those devices, but which we predict. And actually, the predictions for high cloud are much more reliable than the predictions for normal cloud, which is useful because you need to predict it. So you can have 0% normal cloud. I call normal as low to medium level cloud, thick kind of impenetrable low cloud. But high cloud is uh, teasing you. You can have 100% high cloud, and I can walk out the back here where I am in Melbourne and look up and see the Southern Cross with 100% high cloud. Uh, but you point a telescope at it, and anything kind of dimmer than the bright stars in the Southern Cross, you kind of basically wiped out, and you can't see anything. So this is teasing you. You can set it to open in high cloud, but a lot of the data will be kind of very rough. Not good for imaging. Can't see the faint stuff. Not good for photometry because the high cloud really kind of brings systematic errors into your measurements. So, you know, best not to open the high cloud. And also rain. If there's rain predicted, it won't open. And snow. We don't get snow in Melbourne, but we do get New Mexico and Iceland. So yes, wind. We do have wind limits. Chance of rain. So it is non-zero. So that's another bit of danger. Yeah, so that's the forecast, and this gives you an idea of when it might open this evening. You can set the earliest time it opens. So some institutions have their observatories next to the sporting oval, so you don't want it to open too early, lest you have balls come in and hit your mirror, and you don't want it to shut too late, so that students are coming to the institution and it's still open and kicking balls around again. Usually balls are the highest danger. I have been watching uh, a camera in a dome of a telescope and seen a football fly in through the slit. So keep that in mind. It's not weather. It's not raining balls, but it is another feature of our weather system. So here is where in winter-ish, yeah, winter at the moment. We're in August. So this we get winter storms in Melbourne. It's our worst observing season. So you see here, the top line is the main one. You can kind of disentangle what the other ones mean as you go on. But the top one is really the combined goodness of the weather. Green and blue are good, red and orange are bad, and yellow is kind of middling. It would still shut in yellow, but if there's one bar of yellow in the middle of green, it probably won't. So just quickly, you have, yeah, darkness, cloud cover, transparency, seeing quality, wind, humidity, temperature, uh, AQI. AQI is air quality index. Not a problem in Melbourne, in Australia. Lots of forests, not a lot of cities. Even in the centre of the city, the air quality is still pretty good. Um, but in places in the Middle East where there's deserts and dust, wind plus dust hitting glass is a bad idea. So different sites have different dangers. So here we don't get a lot of wind most of the time, and the air quality is pretty good, but we get horrendous overcast periods. This one is just breaking up all of the water in the atmosphere into its various layers. Normal cloud, high cloud, medium cloud, low cloud, fog, visibility, transparency, all about water and visibility in the sky. Here we have, this is the danger map, I call it. But it's basically, this stuff is the rain radar. So you see here, blue skies outside, but this is the danger ring here. So the observatory's there, got the danger ring here. And you can see that it has detected rain to the northeast of us over here. It's daytime, so the step size is bigger than the nighttime. which is why it looks like it pauses. At night time, it's very high cadence, and during the day, it's just slow. What else is there? There's lightning. We don't really get lightning around Melbourne, but they'll pop up on the map as where they are, and the colour will be how old that lightning strike was. We did see a polygon turn up here. That's that. That's storm warnings. So we have a lot of storm. We're linked to global storm warnings for various types of wind storms, dust storms, convective storms, thunderstorms, etc. And those polygons turn up when there is a warning over that area. So if a polygon turns up over the danger spot, it shuts up. Same with lightning. If lightning is around, it shuts up. There's no such thing as opening an observatory into lightning. This is same sort of thing, except this is microwave satellite image. So satellites above the atmosphere trying to measure the precipitation from above the clouds rather than below. Here we have same satellite thing. It is an IR cloud satellite. So you can see, yes, here we are. It is looking a bit blue here, but below me and over there is clouds. I can see them. Actually, since I started this video, they're coming right at me, taking away my blue sky. This is the one I use probably the least, but this is just an indicator of where the wind's going. And this blue and white stuff is precipitation risk and cloud risk. So it's not actual clouds, it's kind of the forecast risk profile. So that's not quite as useful as actually just seeing the clouds and where they're moving. But it's there if you find that particularly useful. When you have an observatory on the system, we collect the history of all of the measurements we have, so you can flick through day, month, year, 5 years, etc. That should be fairly self-explanatory. So you have here, this is the weather page. It's telling you the current status, pressure, humidity, frost point, sky temperature, what the wind's doing, if there's detected rain. So this is a local rain station, like on an AAG you have a rain detector. So yeah, we have the local rain detector, the ground radar rain, which you just saw, and then microwave satellite rain. So there's 3 rain detection tools. The AAG is your last resort, because if it's raining on your AAG, it is raining on your observatory already. And so we beef that up with those 2 radars, the satellite one and the ground one, so we can see the rain coming at the observatory. Hopefully it's shut because of clouds already, but that's not always the case if you have just a blob of clouds with rain moving towards your observatory. Snow is never expected in Melbourne, but is in some places. Frost risk happens here, but it's not cold enough at the moment. Air quality, always good in Melbourne, not anywhere else. Storm warnings, lightning, also lightning risk. Even if we haven't detected lightning, what's the risk of lightning hitting the ground around the observatory? So Melbourne is usually 0. Okay, so that's the weather page. So this is publicly, well, it's accessible to whoever you've provided access to. You can have your page public, or you can just have it private to your users. This is just a summary. This doesn't give you control. This just tells you what's going on. The control is over in your OBS control little box down here. Pop that out. So OBS control. So these live logs and OBS control only turn up if you're an admin user. Oh yeah, I'll do full screen. So if we go to weather settings, we have here is the broad settings for your observatory. So enclosure mode automatic. Automatic means it will open and close by itself as after assessing the weather. That's the general mode that you just leave it in and it manages all the weather stuff for you. Manual is you're doing something at the observatory and you want to open it yourself and leave it open. For whatever reason, you're testing something and it wouldn't usually be open, or it's during the daytime or something like that. So manual, if you set it into manual, I'm not going to change it, it will allow you to open and close the roof regardless of the weather settings. If you have it in manual and you set it to manual, one of the great mistakes that has been made is forgetting to set it back to automatic, and so you just have a a roof just open. Usually it's just roof just shut, and then it never opens because you want it to open, but it's not because it's in manual. It will revert itself to automatic in the morning. So this manual enclosure mode is really just for you to go, yep, at the moment I'm doing something, but it will return to automatically. Shutdown this is usually if you're going away and you're worried about the observatory opening. This shutdown just means it'll never open, absolutely never open. And so you would think in between, someone might want a manual but don't reset to automatic value, but you can get that functionality by setting it on automatic and playing with these other dials rather than setting it on manual. So we'll go through the dials. So open and close enclosure, pretty obvious what they do. It won't open if the weather's bad and you have it on automatic. It just won't. That's the whole point. You'd have to put it on manual and then open enclosure. Close enclosure will always work. If you have a dome, you have some specific manual dome controls. The dome is driven automatically and interacts with the telescope automatically, so you don't have to do anything. This is just mainly here for you to do things manually while you're in the dome testing stuff. Observing mode is the telescopes inside the dome or enclosure react to what the enclosure is doing to know whether it's safe to observe. So if it's safe to observe, the enclosure is opening, and if the enclosure is open, the telescopes go, wow, yes, time for us to get up and do stuff. But if you want to, well, it won't in the daytime. But if you want to open the roof at nighttime, but you want the telescopes not to wake up, then you set this to offline. You can open the roof, and the telescopes will just stay asleep. So along here, you have these patterns. You can have it on permanently, off permanently, or you can click to have it off for tonight only. This is to override an overly pessimistic part of the weather. So if you are there, or you can see the all sky cam and you can see that it's clear, you can set whatever it is to off for tonight only, and it will reset in the morning for the next night. So you don't have to remember to turn it on and off. So it's really trying to help humans out. Humans are these forgetful people that forget to turn things on and off. So this off tonight only button is your friend. It's doing a bit of remembering for you. So what are each of these things? So the local non-rain weather response. So the local weather station has your wind, humidity, temperature, sky, temperature, etc. It probably also has a rain detector. But we separate those two things out because the rain detector is very, very, very important. So you don't want to turn off the whole local weather station response. You might want to keep the rain on while turning all the other local stuff off. So the clouds, wind, humidity, etc. Because the cloud meters in these things, good as they are also highly variable. They can detect clouds when there's no clouds, and vice versa. But you always generally want to leave the rain sensor on. So you can press off tonight here, turn all the other local weather stuff off, but leave the rain sensor on so that if it rains, it shuts. Forecast cloud weather response. So this is responding to what's more of a nowcast, the nowcast cloud around you, which tends to be fairly accurate most of the time. But if the forecast cloud is pessimistic and you're there, off tonight only. Current normal forecast cloud response. So normal cloud is defined in the system as low to medium cloud. This is the thick lower cloud I was talking about before. And then you have the high cloud. So if it's high, you still want to observe through high cloud, off tonight only. Or down below, there's a setting to turn the dial up and down. Next one, current weather forecast response. So that's that full nightly forecast. It makes a judgment across all of the things available to it in the forecast as to whether open or shut. This is your longer, uh, you know, it's more of a 3 hour projection. The forecast thinks, oh, what's the chance of it clouding up in the next hour, and what's the chance of it clearing up after that? Should I shut? There's a bit of stuff like that going on. It's like, is it worth me opening for an hour if it's like 80% clouds, then 0% clouds, and then 70% clouds? Probably not worth opening. So that there's a bit more sophistication in this one, but it's a weather forecast, so it can be wrong. And there's nothing you can do about that. That's just the vagaries of predicting the atmosphere. This one you usually leave off, but this is like if you want to be a bit more conservative, if the weather forecast says it's bad anytime during the evening, uh, keep it shut. Usually you keep this off, but if you're really a bit worried, if you're going away or something, and you want just an extra level of protection, you can turn that on. Here you can define when it opens and closes. Uh, this one is at next to a sports field, so it has times on the weekend. It can open earlier and shut later, but generally there's some times it shouldn't open. Mostly this is during winter, where the sunset is earlier and sunrise is later, and it can start encroaching into the workday. Or if you're at very high northern latitudes, there's not really such thing as high southern latitudes. It's just ocean. But if you're in like Iceland, you will need to set these appropriately. If you're going to do weather station, there's behind the scenes, it fits a model to all the measurements of the weather station. So if you replace the weather station, it has to recalibrate again, so report that. That's just a once in a blue moon thing. These some weather stations have and have not wind speed and temperature, so you can pull it from the forecast if needs be, which is good enough most of the time. Depends on what's on that particular uh, weather station. Here you can have manually forced roof state. So this is like, yeah, I can see the weather's bad for the next few hours, so I'm going to set it force closed for 3 hours, or it's completely clear. The forecast is telling me rubbish. Force it open for 3 hours. If it detects rain, you can clear. If it detects rain, it holds it shut for 45 minutes until after the last rain detection it has. But if you're there, you can clear that rain wait and allow it to open. And here is, yes, responding to the rain radar. Does it respond or not? Don't really turn that off. Just use off tonight only if you're there and want it open. And this is your storm warnings. So pretty much want them on all the time. They're usually pretty accurate because they have to be. So planes don't plummet into the ground. And here's where you can get fine tuning on which things are on and which things are off and what limits there are. They're all pretty much self-explanatory. So you can have a look. There's temperatures, sky temperatures, the risk due to dew and frost, particular dew frost points. If there's lightning, wind, the close for humidity. Gets higher humidity here in Melbourne, but actually doesn't translate directly into dew. So you can have it in the 90s, and there's not dew forming on your scope. Whereas other cases, that's not true. So we usually use the dew risk more than that. Okay, high cloud cover, normal cloud cover, local cloud cover from your local weather meter, and obviously you probably want to leave the rain sensor on, local rain sensor on. So in here is all of the knobs and dials that you will want to set for your weather enclosure and your uh, and your schedule. So, I mean, that is basically the weather system as it currently stands. Always adding in new features, tweaking new parameters. But if you want to control your dome, you do it in here through OBS control. And outside in here, available to all of your users that you say is the weather area, which gives you the current forecast and why it's shut at the moment. So hopefully you find that useful. Get in contact with us if you have any more questions. Hope you're enjoying your day.